Why companies need a Marine Corps leadership model. The conversation around AI is dominated by technology. Everyone is talking about models, algorithms, compute, data, automation, agents. But the organizations that ultimately win the AI race will not be determined solely by who has the best technology. They will be determined by who has the best leadership. Because as AI continues to accelerate, the leadership demands placed on executives are becoming increasingly similar to those faced by military leaders operating in uncertain and rapidly changing environments. And there is perhaps no organization in the world that has spent more time perfecting leadership under uncertainty than the United States Marine Corps. For more than 250 years, the Marine Corps has developed leaders capable of operating effectively in conditions that are volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Today, business strategists refer to these conditions as VUCA. The Marine Corps simply calls it reality. And increasingly, that reality looks a lot like the environment facing companies. Think about what leaders are dealing with right now: technologies that evolve faster than organizational structures, business models that can become obsolete in months rather than years, competitors emerging from anywhere in the world, constant disruption, regulatory uncertainty, rapid shifts in customer expectations, and breakthroughs that can instantly redefine an entire market. The pace is relentless, the complexity is growing, and the certainty that executives once relied upon is disappearing. This creates a fundamental leadership challenge. Most traditional business leadership models were built for a world that was far more predictable, a world where planning cycles lasted years. Competitive advantages could be sustained for decades, and leaders had sufficient time to gather information before making major decisions. That world no longer exists. AI has compressed time, and when time compresses, leadership must evolve. Because in highly dynamic environments, the most valuable resource isn't information. It isn't capital. It isn't even talent. It's speed. More specifically, speed of decision-making. Organizations do not lose because they lack intelligence. They lose because they cannot translate intelligence into action quickly enough. The Marine Corps recognized this long ago. They understood that waiting for perfect information was often more dangerous than acting with incomplete information. In combat, uncertainty is unavoidable. Conditions change constantly. Information is imperfect, and decisions frequently must be made before leaders feel completely ready. The same principle increasingly applies to AI. Executives are making decisions about technology investments, organizational structures, talent strategies, product roadmaps, regulatory risks, and market positioning with incomplete information every day. The future is simply moving too fast to wait for certainty. The leaders who succeed are not the ones who know the most. They are the ones who can decide the fastest while maintaining sound judgment. That is a critical distinction, because speed without discipline creates chaos. But discipline without speed creates irrelevance. The Marine Corps leadership model balances both, and that balance may be exactly what companies need. One of the most misunderstood aspects of military leadership is discipline. Many people hear the word and immediately think of rigid hierarchy, excessive control, or blind obedience. But that's not how elite organizations view discipline. True discipline creates freedom. It creates alignment. It creates trust. It creates predictable execution under unpredictable conditions. When everyone understands the mission, the standards, the objectives, and the boundaries, organizations can move faster because they spend less time negotiating every decision. This is where many companies struggle. As organizations grow, complexity increases. Layers are added, approvals multiply, meetings expand, committees emerge, decision-making slows, and eventually bureaucracy begins to replace leadership. The result is predictable. Organizations become cautious, execution slows, opportunities are missed, and competitors move ahead. The Marine Corps addresses this problem through a concept known as commander's intent. The leader's responsibility is not to dictate every action. The leader's responsibility is to provide absolute clarity regarding the mission and the desired outcome. Once that clarity exists, individuals closer to the action are empowered to make decisions independently. This is one of the most important lessons companies can learn. The complexity of modern business has become too great for centralized decision-making. No CEO can personally evaluate every opportunity. No executive team can approve every action. No founder can remain the bottleneck indefinitely. Organizations must develop leaders throughout the organization who can think, decide, and execute independently. That only happens when the mission is clear, the objective is understood, and accountability is embedded into the culture. This brings us to another uncomfortable truth. Many modern organizations have become overly focused on consensus. Consensus feels safe. Consensus feels collaborative. Consensus feels inclusive. But consensus is often the enemy of speed. And in rapidly changing environments, speed matters. The Marine Corps does not seek consensus before every action. It seeks alignment around the mission. Then leaders make decisions. Ownership is assigned. Execution follows. That distinction is critical. Organizations that constantly seek universal agreement often find themselves trapped in endless discussion, while competitors are already learning from execution. Progress rarely comes from perfect alignment. It comes from decisive action followed by rapid adaptation. And adaptation is another area where Marine Corps leadership offers valuable insight. Many executives still operate as though leadership means creating perfect plans. But in uncertain environments, perfect plans do not exist. The objective is not to create a flawless plan. The objective is to create an effective learning system. The Marine Corps understands that plans will fail. Conditions will change. Unexpected variables will emerge. The leaders who succeed are those who adapt faster than everyone else. Leadership requires exactly the same mindset. Products will evolve, markets will shift, customer behavior will change, technologies will advance, assumptions will prove incorrect. The winning organizations will not be those that avoid mistakes. They will be those that identify mistakes quickly, learn rapidly, and adjust faster than competitors. Now, some people hear this comparison and conclude that leadership should become cold, rigid, or authoritarian. That completely misses the point. The lesson isn't that leaders should care less about people. The lesson is that leaders must care enough about people to provide clarity, to provide direction, to make difficult decisions, to create accountability, and to eliminate the ambiguity that often frustrates high performers. The highest performing teams are rarely built on comfort. They are built on trust, competence, shared standards, clear expectations, and mutual accountability. That's exactly what elite military units cultivate. And it's exactly what high-performing organizations will need as complexity continues to increase. Ultimately, the future of leadership will not belong to the organizations with the most meetings, or the most committees, or the most extensive approval processes. It will belong to organizations capable of making better decisions faster than their competitors, organizations that can execute rapidly, learn continuously, adapt relentlessly, and maintain clarity in environments where uncertainty is the norm. For more than 2 centuries, the Marine Corps has developed leaders capable of thriving under those conditions. The battlefield may be different, but the leadership challenge is remarkably similar. Because whether you're leading Marines through uncertainty or leading a company through disruption, the fundamental requirement remains the same: create clarity, build discipline, accelerate decision-making, and execute with purpose while others are still waiting for certainty. That may become the defining leadership advantage of the AI era.